I'm going to give folks just a minute or two more to get logged in here. So we appreciate your patience, and we will get started in just a few minutes. Thank you. Hi everyone, this is Abra from CLPHA. If you're just joining us, we are going to go ahead and get started in just one more minute or so. We're just letting a couple more folks get connected. If you, well, I guess you won't hear this if you're having audio trouble, but hopefully you'll see under the main chat section in a moment we'll post the phone number to call to join via your telephone. Hi everyone, this is Abra from CLPHA. If you're just joining us, we are going to give it just about one more minute before we go ahead and get started. I see that a couple folks are still joining the webinar. If you are having any technical difficulties, we've posted some information in the chat box in the bottom left that you can see. You can also reach us via email if you're having any difficulties. Thank you. Hi everyone, this is Abra from CLPHA. Thanks so much for joining us. I think some folks are still joining, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Want to be respectful of everyone's time. So for those of you who have never joined a CLPHA webinar for our Education Working Group before, welcome. We are excited to have you and hope that this is useful and helpful. We are going to go through a couple of sort of housekeeping items, take you through some technical details, and then we'll just jump right into our presentation for today. So as always, this webinar is being recorded. So if you would like to revisit it at a later point or you want to share it with colleagues, that's something that will be available. We do go ahead and post that on our housingiS.org website, which also, if you have not had a chance to check out, we encourage you to do so. It's a space for folks to come and gather all across. We have housers, we have educators, we have health folks, government folks, researchers, really all different people and lots of different resources that you can sort and filter by different topics. So check that out, and we post our webinar events on the calendar there. You can add your own events to the calendar. we also will, like I said, post the recordings there as well for you to access. So this is a series that we've done for a few years now. It is approximately every other month. We do have some events that are only for CLPHA members, so if you are not a CLPHA member and you're a housing authority and you're interested in becoming a member, let us know. This event is open to a wider group of folks, so again, welcome. We're glad to have you join us. This is a new webinar platform for us. So like I said, in just a moment we'll go through just some of the tech specs to make sure everybody is familiar and comfortable. But if you're ever having any issues, feel free to send me an email. It's abra, A-B-R-A, at CLPHA, CLPHA.org, and we can help you out with that. And then lastly, if you have not seen our calendar for all of our webinars for the rest of the year through, I believe, next July, then let me know either through a private chat or through an email, because we can go ahead and send that over to you so you can get those in your calendar. So I'm actually another person who I'm very pleased to introduce. Some of you may have already heard about her, but Micah O'Brien, she's a year-long fellow with CLPHA. We're very excited and lucky to have her. She's been doing fantastic work so far, including helping to coordinate this webinar. So I'm going to let Micah take us through some of the details that you all should know about just in terms of the technical aspects of the webinar software.
All right. Hi, everyone. So as Abra mentioned, this is a new webinar platform we are using called Click Meeting. We've had some good success with it in the recent past, but we're still figuring it out ourselves, so bear with us if you wouldn't mind. Basically, it has a number of the kind of main components any webinar platform has. We have our open public chat box at the bottom of the screen. If you would like to start a private chat with one of the presenters or another one of the participants, you can click on his or her name under the attendee list, and then you'll be given the option to start a chat, and you can click on that. If you are listening on computer audio, you will not be able to speak, but this is a webinar, so we're not really engaging participants, so that is totally fine. All phone participants are on mute as they entered the webinar. We will be doing some screen sharing later on. Any of the sharing we're doing by sending a message in the private chat or public chat. And I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything else, Abra?
I'll just add that folks should feel free to type questions that they might have for the presenters at any time by typing them in that main chat box, which is in the bottom left hand of the screen. And then we will go ahead and address those and make sure we leave plenty of time at the end to answer all of those questions. But feel free to type them at any time. I know sometimes it's easy to forget your questions, so absolutely type it whenever it comes to you. You don't have to wait till the end of the presentation. Otherwise, I think that's it. I guess the one last note is you might notice a kind of those four little arrows at the top right hand of the slides. So that's if you'd like to make the slides bigger on your own screen just for visibility's sake. That is an option that you can do. So otherwise, I think that's it. I will do one final housekeeping reminder. We hope to be sending out this week or next the save the date for our annual Housing Is Summit, which is our meeting to bring together folks working on cross-sector issues. It will be in DC, and it will be May 16th to 17th. So again, formal save the date to come very soon, but I know lots of you on this webinar have attended in the past, and we hope to see you again. So today we'll be talking about technology and really sort of one example of how we can use that as a way to hopefully improve educational outcomes for the residents that many of you serve or work with in conjunction with a housing agency. So we met right by text, gosh, I guess probably through a couple different ways, but most recently we were working with them at a conference. And so really excited about some of the work that they're doing to reach this population through texting. And then I just want to mention that we will be having a follow-up roundtable, again, just for CLPHA members, but to really delve through to talk more either about what we've heard today in today's presentation or also other ways that you may be using technology to communicate with residents and your own communities. So that will be coming up soon. Calendar invites have already been sent out for that. But again, if you haven't received it or you're not sure if maybe one of your colleagues did and you're a CLPHA member, send me an email and I can make sure to check into that for you. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our two presenters from Bright by Text and let them introduce themselves.
Thanks, Abra. And so I'm Jean McSpadden. I'm the CEO of Bright by 3, Bright by Text, and I also have with me Rebecca Levy, who is the Senior Program Manager for Bright by Text. And we're going to do a little flipping back and forth of talking about different slides, and we're looking forward to sharing with you some of the innovative work that is going on with this and some of our national scaling that's been happening. Abra, again, let me say as well, it was a pleasure to meet you in Philadelphia in July at the Campaign for Grade Level Reading Conference. And for those of you who may have been there, it was a convening of public housing authorities. That was the main theme. And we've continued our work since we got back. It inspired us to look more deeply at what was going on here in Colorado with Denver Housing Authority. So we'll be giving you a little bit of an update as we go on through the webinar in that. So let me just start out by saying that Bright by 3, which is the lead organization of Bright by Text, has been around for over 20 years, and we have been using innovation throughout that time to help caregivers engage with children. And Bright by Text is just that latest example. Bright by Text harnesses the power of text messaging to reach families and caregivers with helpful, important information, nudging caregiver behavior, and strengthening families. Bright by Text is based on the age of the child, and we do our messages from prenatal to 8 years. And we can target messages, which Rebecca will talk about a little bit deeper, to family zip codes. And we also text relevant content to caregivers in the way they like to receive it and are the most likely to read it, use it, and also share it. And so it's a privilege for us to share this work with what we've been doing with families across the nation and Colorado organizations, including public housing, with you today. So let me just go on to the next slide. And if you, there we go, we're at it. And can everyone hear me okay? Just doing a quick sound check before we go too deep into this. Abra, are we good?
Yep, you sound great to me. Folks, if you're having difficulty hearing, please do let us know.
Wonderful. We're in an old building. We're calling from Denver, Colorado, where it's a very cold, drizzly, almost snowy day. We're going to have our first hard freeze tonight. And my geraniums from outside are now sitting in my office. But the building we're in, it's a really old building, and the ceilings are really tall, so sometimes we get echoes when we're on the phone. So I just wanted to double check that you can hear me okay. So if you take a look at this picture of a mom trying to soothe her crying newborn, I think even if we haven't been in that situation ourselves, we can all relate to that frustration of what it's like and how isolating and challenging it can be. Or if you have a toddler that's having a tantrum, or if you've witnessed that, it's just this sense of helplessness. Or trying to, I can relate to this, trying to get my 4 or 5-year-old when they were younger to get out the door in a timely manner to get them to school. We all know that babies and kids don't come with an instruction manual. And so what do we do when we're trying to figure something out in today's world? And we know this from research that's been taking place through 0 to 3 and other organizations. Some of the most likely ways we search for help is to Google. And what do we find when we Google for help? Information overload. And this is a great illustration in this slide. There's so much out there, the quantity of information. And what we're finding is that parents are overwhelmed by the quantity, but underwhelmed by the quality and trustworthiness of resources that they find for their family or what they're trying to look up. But if a parent was already signed up for Bright by Text, they would be receiving tried and true resources. We use a two-generation approach with ideas for soothing a baby back to sleep, helping a parent get some sleep so that both are resilient. And here's an example. If you're signed up for Bright by Text, you might get this message when your baby is 45 days old. If you recall, I said we sign up based on the baby's birth date or the child's birth date. You would get this message. It's so hard to hear your baby cry. Try some of these tips to comfort your child, holding, stroking, talking, and more. And then you can click a link that takes you to a landing page that explains even more ideas and trusted resources to help you with that. We also have tips all the way up through that spectrum, especially through age 5, that could help you with that toddler tantrum or helping you get that 4-year-old dressed on time, going back to the original examples. So parents and caregivers, what we're finding, are loving Bright by Text because of the useful doses of content of when and how they can use it, when and where it's easiest to get information in today's world, which is what we all have attached to our hip all the time anymore, our cell phones. Here's some examples of what parents are saying. They're more confident. They love the development tips timed to the age of their child, and it's right there as a helping hand. What's amazing is that this program not only helps parents, but it also helps organizations that serve families. And we brought out an example of a public housing authority in Colorado to walk you through.
Yes, as Jean mentioned, Bright by Text also supports other organizations and programs that work with families with young children, like Emergency Family Assistance Association. EFFA had been trying to promote their services and contacted Bright by Text for help. One of the unique features of Bright by Text is not only do we have a platform where we can send the program messages that Jean described that are in our curated content library, we also have a feature that allows our partners to write and schedule local messages targeted to communities in their specific areas. So this is where we came in and helped EFFA to send a message to Boulder County residents. So here's the message: come grow healthy with your family over dinner and an informative nutrition presentation. We promoted this event via a targeted Bright by Text local message, and as a result, we heard from EFA that more families showed up because they had received this text. And then we wanted to show you another unique feature of Bright by Text in terms of how we collect and analyze data. So with a gated approach to data collection and analysis, Bright by Text can overlay trusted public data sets onto the information that we know about caregivers who subscribe to our service. So we have gone out and found these public trusted data sets. This is a CMS, that stands for the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, and they are the proxy that determines reimbursement rates for medical insurance and healthcare. And they provide information on a national level that shows low-income areas as well as healthcare provider shortage areas. So we took where our Bright by Text caregivers subscribe to the service, and we can actually look at this information and see in those areas where there are healthcare provider shortages or low income. So this is an example of Colorado. Of Bright by Text 11,000 Colorado subscribers, you can see the healthcare provider shortage areas in blue, as well as the low income areas in red, or both those are the yellow bubbles. With this information, we can target the areas of populations that are the most at risk and ensure they receive timely, important information. For example, we can drill down to zip codes that are in healthcare provider shortage areas and send those local messages I described earlier that include information for free healthcare clinics or flu shots. What this data analysis lets us do is inform our programming as well as empower our partners with data to demonstrate value to funders and key stakeholders.
It looks like we're trying to advance to the next slide, so hold on. So this slide is just an example of the multiplier effect of early childhood. You can see, as an example, if we go back to the EFAA nutrition program, that we can provide content and program exposure, that we can support the early childhood education community in other ways, not only as a content distribution channel, but also for feedback and evaluation, and we can be a data collaborator. And this ability to match public data with our data and support our partners just strengthens how we can really help those families who are the most challenged. So this is a map, just to give you an example, back in Colorado of our 200 partner organizations, where all those little red dots are. They represent partners around the state, and where you see, I don't know how well you can see this, but it's not a big deal, but some of these you'll see numbers are just a small pen. If it's just a pen, that means it's an isolated partner, and in some cases you'll see numbers, and we can actually drill this down by county and actually separate out who the partners actually are. So we really have the ability to drill down to very isolated, specific parts of anywhere in the U.S. But this example we wanted to show you because we understand this is mostly partner housing authorities listening in today, that we work directly with several around the state. We're about to expand our partnership with Mercy Housing, which is part of the Denver Housing Authority. And you can see that some of these other organizations work closely with housing authorities or are actually a housing authority here in Colorado.
Yes, and that partnership with housing authorities we're very excited about, because again we can help explain how they can leverage Bright by Text to reach their residents and provide the timely, important information about events and resources to their residents. So we wanted to show a map of our national signups as well. Bright by Text currently serves we're nearing 42,000 parent and caregivers who are subscribed to the service, and we have caregivers in all 50 states across the United States. So what we think Bright by Text winning formula really is, again, we have the ability to target those messages based on geographic region, drilling down to county and even the zip code level. We have partner-driven local messages, so we're able to be a delivery platform for the information that our partners need to get out to their communities. We have comprehensive, trusted content, those program messages that Jean talked about earlier. We have a robust data set as well as sophisticated reporting platforms that all of our partners have access to. We're able to have an ongoing connection. We send caregivers 2 to 4 Bright by Text messages each week, and we are able to have that ongoing touch point with families and caregivers. And then Bright by Text is a cost-effective means of delivering this valuable information. We have also recently concluded an evaluation study working with Marzano Research here in Denver, comparing caregiver resilience and child development among 3 groups: caregivers subscribed to Bright by Text, caregivers who received Bright by 3's traditional visitation program, and a comparison group of caregivers who have participated in neither. These are some key findings that Marzano Research found during that year-long evaluation. Bright by Text subscribers reported that their children were more on target or advanced in language development compared to the comparison group. Furthermore, the Bright by Text group were on average 3 months ahead in language development compared to their counterparts in the comparison group. And then just to recap, Bright by Text, our impact, 92% of caregivers who are subscribed to the Bright by Text service say that they feel more confident and informed about their child's development. We're nearing 42,000 caregivers subscribed to the service. Those caregivers who do receive Bright by Text messages, their children are 3 or more months ahead in cognitive development among low-income families. We've sent over 5.5 million messages, and of the respondents to our surveys, 97% say that they would recommend Bright by Text to a friend or family member. And so we have the option, if you'd like to try Bright by Text out for yourself and see how these messages work, you can sign up sending demo to 274448. That's a unique short code that stands for Bright. And you will receive text messages, see how the sign-up process works, as well as be able to explore those linked related resources that we mentioned earlier. And partnering with Bright by Text, we offer an annual subscription of $10,000, which comes with a unique keyword that offers a branding opportunity, the ability to schedule and send local messages, and access to our robust data sets and reporting platforms. With the local messages, we're very excited. This is brand new. Our ever-evolving technology, we've recently discovered that not only are we able to drill down by geographic locations, we can target communities even further by creating unique lists of subscribers. And what this allows us to do, for example, our Arizona PBS station had a program under the Ready to Learn grant that they wanted to deliver, but it needed to be quick, concise, and they needed to be able to evaluate posts. So what they did is target specific families in their areas that they wanted to receive this program. They've been sending it out weekly, and they are currently evaluating the effectiveness of that program, all by using this unique feature of Bright by Text. If you would like to learn more about bringing Bright by Text to your organization, please feel free to contact me. My email address is at the bottom, rebecca@bb3.org. We'd be happy to schedule a more in-depth demo of our tech technical platform, as well as go through some of these unique features that we've touched on today, including our comprehensive content library, as well as these local scheduled messages.
And I see Jennifer has typed in a question if there are messages beyond English and Spanish. That's a great question, by the way. At this point, the answer is no, but we are continuously receiving feedback and suggestions. And for example, our partner in Fresno has a high Hmong population. They reach out to, if we were to get from multiple partners around the U.S., that we're looking for a specific added-on language, we definitely can take a look into that. We know Google Translator is getting better and better at that. We do have on staff Spanish translators right now, and but at the moment the answer is just English and Spanish. Thank you, Jennifer, for asking that.
And we'd be happy if anyone else has questions to take some time and answer those.
Yeah, we went pretty fast through our content library. We are ever expanding that and are always in search of additional content partners. Our own content, which is research-based from that 20 years of visitation around the state of Colorado and endorsed by the American Pediatric Association, covers prenatal to 3. We are currently requesting some grant dollars and have started adding quite a bit in perinatal content, recognizing that prenatally that there are social emotional issues that moms or families are dealing with, and in particular postpartum depression, et cetera. And those first 3 months and beyond are something that has been quite overlooked, and so we're adding additional content there. We're working with PBS to expand our content library in the 3 to 4 to 5 year age range, as well as Sesame Street and Communities. We have room content, if you're familiar with that. It's brain building activities loaded in our message library between birth to 5, and some oral health messages. So there's quite a bit of diverse information, and we're adding literacy content in that 5 to 8 range. There's I'd say our message content library is extremely trusted resources, but we are looking for more and are willing to entertain any of your great ideas. If you have some, please contact Rebecca if you're thinking of some additional content that would be valuable in the system.
So, folks, I've gone ahead and I'm curious, in the chat section, I was just wondering if those of you in any of the communities mentioned, or maybe not explicitly mentioned, if you were already familiar with this organization, if you work with maybe any of the partner organizations that Bright by Text is using as examples, let us know. I'd be curious, and I'm sure they would be too. In the meantime, Jean and Rebecca, I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit more as to how you're sort of evaluating outcomes of the program, and kind of both the reach of, I know of course you mentioned how many subscribers you have at the moment, but in terms of kind of showing impact, I think folks would be interested in hearing a little bit more about your evaluation and research methods there.
Yes, absolutely. As I mentioned, we started with a very basic data collection when we launched the Bright by Text platform. And once we had the information about our caregivers who were subscribed in the service, we were able to be really deliberate about what we wanted to demonstrate in terms of impact. So what we have done is we have surveys that are sent out through the platform, which is also a feature that we can offer to partners in terms of sending surveys to their subscribers. Those surveys, if a caregiver is subscribed for more than 30 days, they receive a 6-question survey, and that's where we get some of those numbers. For instance, I shared the 97% would recommend to another family, recommend the service to another family. And so we have those internal surveys, and then we reached out to an independent research company. That's the Marzano Research. They're based in Denver as well, and they did the year-long evaluation study, which we have some of those results that I shared earlier in terms of language development and showing that families who use Bright by Text are more advanced than some of the comparison groups. And if anyone is interested in learning, doing a deep dive into the evaluation, we have our executive summary that was just published that we'd be more than happy to share with you after this webinar, as well as we just hosted an early childhood technology symposium as a precursor to the 0 to 3 annual conference. And our research evaluator, Dr. Carrie Germeroth, presented, and we have a video recording of her presenting some key findings of the year-long evaluation that has taken place.
Great, thank you so much. So I see that Jennifer has written another really great question. She's asking, do you all have content that helps parents choose high-quality childcare or preschool?
Yeah, I'll start and I'll let Rebecca finish. We are working with Denver preschool program. I'm going to give a local example again, where we have we're working with them to send out to all the Denver zip codes information about sign-up times, tips, that type of thing. So we can do that in any part of the country, and we also have just some general information on high-quality child care that we have in our regular content system from our own programming that we translated into text. We're also using some Colorado Shines messaging about quality child care. So yes, we do have some, but I also wanted to stress that we can specifically, if we're partnering with someone or an organization in a specific part of the United States, we can drill to specific zip codes about, now's the time for that open window of child care, that type of thing.
And I'll just echo what Jean said. So in our program message library, we do have the messages that go out that are developmentally timed regarding preschool, so that is getting on the minds of parents and caregivers. But some of that information is more unique to specific areas, and I think of a partner that we have in Utah where preschool is not offered for everyone, and so they've promoted local reduced cost resources through our localized messages, which again just gets that information to a larger audience, and it's more targeted to the resources that are available in their specific community.
Great, thank you. And then kind of on that note, do you have any other examples of places where you're working with school districts or schools? I'm referring to Lenita's question, basically just asking if beyond 0 to 3 or 0 to 5, you're able to connect with school districts through Bright by Text.
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been working with the Texas Education Association, and they created literacy tips that we sent out over the summer. We have not specifically worked with a school district at this point, but we definitely can and have a desire to do so. Rebecca, are you thinking of one in Texas that I may have missed? I'm sorry.
And this is a recent development. We are with one of our Texas partners in Midland, actually working with the school district there. Our admin partner is a United Way organization, and they were able to get the buy-in of the school district there to really promote the resources to ages 5 to 8. Our 5 to 8 program content is meant to supplement what a child learns in school, not necessarily repeat the same information that they would learn in the classroom.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then, so it looks like Susanna asked a question looking more specifically at the kind of the challenges and the barriers you have faced while working with housing authority or a housing partner, like how you're getting residents to get on board with the program, and then other translation services. I know you mentioned a bit about your Spanish speakers on your team. If you could speak a little bit more to her question.
Yeah, so our work with the housing authorities has been through our partner organization. So our specific one-on-one outreach with them, other than the Denver and Boulder examples, are through Pueblo Catholic Charities, the Housing Authority in Glenwood Springs, etc. We would love to work more closely with housing authorities. Abra, I'm just thinking back to the GLR week in Philadelphia where we were co-presenting. It was really astounding to me, and I have overlooked the severe challenges that families face that live in housing authorities, and even something as simple as I heard the examples of families, sitting around a family housing rec center so that they could pick up free Wi-Fi because they couldn't get it in the building where they lived, and how just some simple challenges. Or if there's an emergency water shut off, we could actually send text out to families, hey, your water's off for this period of time. We'll send you more information when we hear more. A further example of that was when the hurricane was in North Carolina recently. We were able to send out some messages from the governor's office about where families could go and how they could seek additional help. I feel like we don't have so many challenges as we have open opportunities of needs that are unmet. So anything we can do to work with you as partners, we would be thrilled to do so.
Great. And I'm actually wondering, Micah, are we able to looks like Angie's typing. So she's with the Fresno Housing Authority, and she said that they are working with Valley PBS, which Rebecca and Jean had mentioned earlier. Angie, if you're amenable, and Micah, if it's possible, are we able to take Angie off of mute so she could just say a couple words about that?
Yeah, definitely. I will.
Angie, feel free to say you don't want to once Micah takes you off mute. So we'd love to just hear a little bit about how that's gone.
So Angie, now I've made you a presenter, so you should be able to put yourself off of mute. If you're calling in, it's just *1, or you can click the little audio icon in the camera and voice box in the top right.
So she's saying the option isn't available.
Oh.
Well, I think while we're trying to let Angie sort that out, I see Susanna has another question that we can answer, and then hopefully we can get Angie's audio sorted. Thank you for your patience, everyone. So Susanna is asking about data plan restrictions or pay-by-text plans. So this is a really great question for sure because, yeah, Jean, as you were mentioning, we know a lot of residents, while they do have phones, and a lot of them even have smartphones, often it's a pay-as-you-go plan or, yeah, sort of a limited subscription. Maybe some folks are using government-issued cell phones. Do you have any examples of how that barrier might be addressed, as well as the fact that a lot of residents frequently change phone numbers?
Yeah, so I'm wishing Nim was here for that particular question, our Chief Technology Officer, who's the brain trust behind our Bright by Text platform. What he is finding as he studies cell phone signups and plans is that very few people in today's world are on, and the Housing Authority families may be not a good example of this, but our subscribers or those who have signed up to get our messages are by and large on data plans that have very few restrictions. And we're also finding that very few cell phone numbers have changed in the lifetime of Bright by Text, which we launched in early 2014 under a different system. But we have several years of data analysis on that, and I'm sure it's surprising to many of you who are listening, but that's truly what we're finding is that there's not a lot of turnover of cell phone numbers, and those who have data plan restrictions, most of our messages are pretty easy to digest without clicking through to the landing page, and so the concept, the idea is there just by pulling up the initial text messages, and it's my understanding from what I've heard from them that almost every data plan has free text messaging in today's world. We also have, and we're required to do this, have a opt-out that's very easy to follow at any given time. So I think Rebecca knows these stats better than me, but our opt-out is extremely small. If someone stays with Bright by Text for more than a week, I'll let you finish giving the percentages.
If a caregiver is subscribed to the Bright by Text service for more than 30 days, we have a 98% retention rate, which means we find that families and caregivers are really finding the information to be valuable, and that also would include anyone who texts in the word stop to opt out, or those who are changing cell phone plans. So we know that we have a very high retention rate and haven't had to deal with the challenge of changing phone numbers necessarily.
Great. And Angie, were you by chance able to get connected to the audio?
I think we're having a few difficulties, unfortunately.
Okay, no worries. I appreciate everyone trying it. Angie, if you want to type a couple notes in the chat about your experiences with partnerships or anything that has been surprising to you or exciting to you, I'm sure folks would find that interesting, but if not, no worries. We appreciate you letting us put you on the spot like that. And as Micah mentioned in the beginning, this is a new webinar technology for us, so we are still just kind of working out all of the kinks, and I think with everything else, we always welcome feedback on how things are working for you, so please do let us know. If folks have other questions, please type them into the main chat box. We do have another few moments with our presenters here, so want to take advantage if there are questions that folks want to get answered.
Yeah, and while it looks like there's a few more questions coming up, but I'm just thinking about our Fresno partner, Fresno PBS, and also a mutual funding partner, the David and Lucille Packard Foundation. One of the things that we're talking about, are really hoping to do soon, is, as Rebecca was talking about, the overlay of data, is to take the school district in Fresno has done quite a bit of work on some data collection and overlay our text signups with the data that's been collected in the Fresno area and really help further hone getting some messages out to families in some new and more directed, targeted ways.
Great. So it looks like we have a question about content partners and where you're sort of expanded. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you all are open to being anywhere. I think that's about texting, but I'll let you all respond if you specifically have any projects in the works in Minnesota at the moment.
We do not have projects in the work in Minnesota specifically. However, we are continually looking to refresh and expand our program library of messages and look for the experts that are out there nationwide. So current partners include Vroom, Cooking Matters, Sesame Street and Communities, PBS Learning Media. So we work with national partners and currently are expanding. Again, Jean mentioned the Texas Education Agency. We are working with Child Care Aware, the national organization, as well as just recently had a meeting with 0 to 3. So we're looking for the best and the brightest out there so that we can really curate our content into those trusted and tried resources.
And our closest connection as far as partnership goes in Minnesota is on our content advisory board. We have a professor from the University of Minnesota. Is everyone there? Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay, sorry about that. I think we're reconnected. We had some issues going back and forth, but sorry about that. What were you saying before we got cut off?
Oh, I was just mentioning that we have a content advisory board, and Dr. Scott McConnell from the University of Minnesota is on the advisory board. I know there's a question about Minnesota and the relations we have from that state.
Okay. And we also, so Angie was able to type some information about the work that they're doing with Bright by Text into the main chat. I'm sure everyone can see this, but it sounds like parents have been really receptive, and then she also noted that they've included informal care providers in this texting program as well, which sounds like it was something that came through their partnership with these outside organizations, Fresno United and Starting Smart and Strong Initiative, which is very cool. If anyone else has any other questions.
Yeah, if I could just add to Angie's comment.
Sure, yeah.
One of the things that we're really taking a close look at, and thanks to our funding from the Packard Foundation, is that informal caregiver. We know the high cost of daycare and just the trust factor in different cultures, that there are many, many unidentified caregivers out there across the U.S. that are caring for a young child, and our goal is to reach as many of those as possible. So we do ask, once someone has been signed up for Bright by Text, if their child is under the care of someone else during the week, just to help us start getting a better sense of who we're reaching of those almost 42,000 subscribers.
Great. Thank you.
So the specific question is what is your relationship to the child for whom you are subscribed to Bright by Text? And right now, I just pulled up some data. 88% are a parent, and about 10% comprise other family, and our other paid care is so small it's not even showing up as a percent. So, we're definitely trying to capture that information.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate everyone's. Oh, I see there's one more question coming in. Okay, we have just a couple minutes left. So I think we can answer the last final questions, but then want to be respectful of everyone's time. So, okay, yeah. So Julie's asking a little bit more about the fee structure. Jean or Rebecca?
Sure. Yeah, I think we can both take this. So as Rebecca mentioned in one of our slides, there's an annual subscription of $10,000, and it can come through grants like the David and Lucille Packard Foundation in Fresno is a really good example. It doesn't matter where or how you get the funding, but with that you get access to your own keywords. So, for example, the Fresno keyword is
Valley PBS.
Yep. And our example in the slide was a Utah organization, a United Way, where they came up with UT Family. We have examples of other keywords we're using around the U.S. that we'd be happy to share. But so you get a keyword, and you also get access to Rebecca newsletters, you get personalized training, you get access to creating your own local messages, which Rebecca will also train you on, and then you can also be a part of our data family where you can get live data on not only your signups but what's going on in other parts of the United States. And also any research we conduct, you're the first to find out results, that type of thing. And again, Rebecca would be happy, whether you're interested in paying a fee or just learning more about Bright by Text, to do a live demo with you and show you the back-end data and what that looks like live. It refreshes every hour of the day, so there's always new data that we have on our dashboards.
Yes, we'd be happy to set up individual screen share opportunities. It can be easier to go through what a partnership looks like in detail on that one-on-one level. So again, if you have any level of interest in learning what Bright by Text might look like for your public housing authority or organization, we'd be happy to schedule a call with you. Again, my email address is rebecca@bb3.org, or you can go to our Bright by Text website, brightbytext.org.
Great. Well, thank you so much to everyone. This has really been a fantastic conversation today, and I see that we've had some additional comments from some of, particularly the housing authorities, about some of the challenges their residents are facing. So again, this is a great thing to continue in our upcoming roundtable, which you should have received an Outlook calendar invitation for. That's just for CLPHA members. So sorry to those of you who are not, but for those of you who are, this is something that we can continue to discuss more in depth about different ways that PHAs are tackling issues like changing phone numbers and other sort of barriers or innovations in communicating with residents, especially with an eye to improving educational outcomes. So definitely join us for that. And I also would like to take a moment to thank our presenters, Jean and Rebecca. We appreciate your time and your knowledge. And as you heard, they're very receptive to having follow-up conversations. So if you did not get to ask a question today or you think of something at a later point, please reach out to them. They would be happy to talk to you. So
yes, thank you.
Yes, we appreciate it, and I think with that we will end the presentation. If folks have other general questions, please be in touch with myself or Micah.